All right, football fans, welcome to the World Cup group stage recap part two. This was the games from Wednesday to Saturday. We have Malad Pornik live from Qatar at a concert, and we have Ahmed Yusuf live from his apartment, his sunny apartment with a great beard. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you, Baggy. Thanks for having me. It's my first time on the football show, and I just want to say it's an honor. Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks, Maggie. What a wonderful World Cup we're experiencing.
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. I know Miller has limited time, so we're going to jump right in to Group A here, and we're going to talk about both of these games here. So first, Senegal beat Qatar 3-1, and the Netherlands beat Ecuador, or tied Ecuador 1-1. What did you guys think of these games? And this
Give
group?
it over to Zakita. Um, I mean, none of the results are too surprising. We expected Senegal to beat Qatar. Qatar scored, which I think is nice to see for the home country. You know, they deserve something for, I feel like, an exceptional World Cup that they have hosted. And the other results were surprising. I mean, we know Ecuador is a strong team, but we didn't really expect them to, hold Netherlands back. But they have. They have succeeded and have proved that they are one of the, contenders out of this group for sure. And it does leave, I think, this group to be kind of still. We don't expect Qatar to defeat Netherlands, so that really opens up the number two spots. And I think it's a little bit of a toss-up. I mean, of course, Ecuador, they can play it safe and they can try to go for a draw and advance. But I feel like Senegal, knowing that tactic, I think they definitely have to, be aggressive from the first half. They can't really wait.
Yeah, for sure. Mila, what do you think of this Group A overall?
Yeah, I think host nation Qatar, it's a bit of a shame for them to leave without a point. So maybe they can do something against Netherlands just for their pride and being the host. I think when they lost the opening game, it was the first time a host has lost the opener. So that's tough, but yeah, I guess they've put up a fight, and in their second game, I guess they look better than in their first opener. Bit of the jitters away, and But yeah, I think Zaki explained that group well. I think Netherlands is probably going to take it, and then Senegal and Ecuador should be a great game for the second spot.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, in this Senegal Qatar game, Qatar almost drew a penalty early in the game, and I was surprised it wasn't awarded given there's been softer penalties awarded earlier in this tournament, and they're the host country. Um, but I'm glad they did score their goal. To go through this tournament without a goal would have been pretty embarrassing for them, like you mentioned. Um, Qatar just doesn't look like they belong here, and soon enough they won't belong because they're the first team that are eliminated from this tournament, unfortunately. And Senegal pretty much just took care of business. I mean, that's really what it came down to. They didn't do very much. They just kind of got what was given to them. And then, as for the Netherlands game, the tie with Ecuador, I think Gakpo is really emerging for the Netherlands. He scored and had another chance on an amazing chip that he could have scored in as well. I think he's kind of emerging in this tournament. Gakpo for the Netherlands. Valencia has 3 goals now in 2 games. He had another great shot on goal as well that could have been for a fourth goal. Um, it looked like he got injured towards the end of the game there, so I hope he's going to be okay for the rest of this tournament. But one of the things that stood out to me is that it's fascinating to see the difference in style between Latin American teams and European teams. Um, Latin American teams seem to be more aggressive and flashy, and the European teams seem to be more organized and methodical. And it's really interesting to see the way some of these games play out. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to Group B, the important group for our purposes here. Iran beat Wales 2-0, and the U.S. tied England 0-0. Of course, our correspondent, our Iranian correspondent Milad Pornik, was at the Iran-Wales game. So the floor is yours. What did you see there?
First of all, what an atmosphere. I mean, just getting, I got to Qatar on that day and just went to the stadium, everything, everyone was pumped up. I think we all knew the first game there was so much pressure on the team from outside and the media and all the people about what's going on in the country and sort of blaming them for everything. And I think they were just really not themselves in that first game. So I think they were really hyped up to put in a good performance. And we knew that against Wales, that's a very beatable team. As long as you control basically Bale and Ramsey, and they had Kiefer Moore in, which I was worried about. I saw how big that guy is in real life, and I was like, wow, hope we can deal with him. But I think we were dominating really the first half, and when we got that goal, and then it was disallowed because of VAR, I was so frustrated, and I realized what they talk about when they say how VAR just changes the emotions. That goal goes and you just erupt, and then it just gets disallowed. So that was a big bummer. Um, Anyways, yeah, I thought we really dominated the game. And then there was one time in the second half we had to hit two posts straight after one another, which was again like we were just thinking it's not going to be our day. We're not going to get through. It's going to be a 0-0. And then when that yellow card got overturned to a red, that was a key moment, I thought, near like 84th minute or something like that. And I think it was the right call. So they gave the goalie the red, and we just pushed through. And what a goal! I mean, I think it was the first goal outside the box in the whole tournament so far. Um, and it was from a defender who got subbed in, and like amazing. I was right behind, like on the other side, and great view of the goal. Crowd erupted, and then just the second goal on the counter to finish it off was perfect as well. So Iran Wales, amazing game and amazing finish. And yeah, I think one of them was like 8th minute in extra time, and there's like 11th. So that's just awesome.
Incredible, incredible. And I want to welcome Muhammad Yusuf here. Welcome, bro. Zach Attack. Sorry, I had to mute you because there was some background noise. But if you want to unmute yourself here, I'm not sure how to unmute you. There you go.
No worries.
Go ahead. But yeah, so what did you think of Group B overall here? The Iranians beating the Welsh and then the English tying the Americans.
Me, right? Not Omar.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's fantastic the experience that we got experienced in Qatar. I think being there, I'm sure, was amazing. So overall, I think the Welsh Iranian game definitely was the entertainment game of the I guess that game week. But taking to let me just talk about the other game, the US versus England. I think USA kind of showed like their strength. They have a young team that is talented, but they don't always get the spotlight. They're always kind of just because of the USA missing out in the last World Cup. They always have this, I guess, baggage that they have to kind of justify. But they really played their heart out. I think that they were the better team, and they should have had one on England. I think at least. So really many props to them, and also them making this group like really. I mean, I think it's really exciting. I mean, England, they do have the goal difference because of the first game. But I mean, honestly, I think at this point, I feel like this whole group is still wide open. Maybe Wales can beat England with a narrow one, and who knows? Maybe I think Iran USA can be. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the permutations in this group is just like amazing. We do expect England to somehow go through because of their advantages, but I feel like the second team, it'll be one to watch for.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, why? What did you see overall in Group B here? Iran beating Wales and US tying England.
So I actually missed the Iran Wales game, but I think the thing that stood out to me was the Welsh fan after the game. I don't know if you saw this, but he said that it's the biggest victory for Iran since the Iron Sheikh beat Bob Backlund at WrestleMania. So that kind of I love that. But I will say I think maybe I and maybe a lot of other people have kind of underestimated the Iranian team. It seems like they're actually a pretty good team. Like I didn't think they would be this good, to be honest. But hey, that's probably my fault. that defense, from what I remember, last World Cup was really well too. They gave Argentina a really hard time in that last World Cup, and it seems like it's kind of carrying over. So good for them. Like it's good to see that. That the English American game was kind of fascinating to me because I think you can look at it as in two ways. For the English, on one hand, you could say, hey, they kind of. I mean, I know it's a tie, but they kind of lost that game if you think about it, considering how much they, um, how much superior talent they probably have. But at the same time, I wonder how much they're actually trying to win that game because they probably didn't need to win that game, to be honest with you. But for the Americans, I do think it was kind of a win in a way because nobody really thought that they had much of a I wouldn't say much of a chance, but I think everybody thought that the English side was a lot better. So kudos to them. I agree with what was said earlier that the I think the American side is kind of showing that they're a lot better than what they've been in the past. So that's kind of what I took away from them. It'll be interesting to see how this group finishes out. To be honest, really fascinating.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, so Milad, I'm trying to see how to unmute you because I had to unmute you because of the.
Yeah, I gotta head out, but
Okay.
I'll listen to this cast after, and thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Milad. Enjoy it, bro.
Thanks, guys. Take
Yeah.
care. Thank you.
Take care, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, Gareth Bale is now the most capped Welsh player. He has 110, and he doesn't have a lot to show for it. This is a world class player throughout his career, and he doesn't have much to show for it, unfortunately. Kiefer Moore, I thought he earned the start after what he did in the first game. He had a great chance early in the game in front of the goal, and if he put it anywhere else in the goal, I think he could have scored. That could have changed the trajectory of this game. Iran had also two straight shots that went off the post early in the second half. Very unlucky there. But when Hennessy, the Welsh goalie, came out and tried to clear that ball, I don't know what he was doing. That was an extremely sloppy approach towards the ball, and he earned that red card, and the game changed after that. When you're playing with 10 men, you're just at a big disadvantage. Um, you know, like Milad mentioned, amazing goals by the Iranian players here, and yeah, I mean, essentially, I thought they earned this win big time, and for the American versus England game, I thought the American team had incredible fitness, which is what they're known for. Kind of, they have stamina, they have fitness, but they really have no finishing. They have no strikers. I mean, they even tried to bring in this guy Haji Wright. I've never heard of that guy. Apparently, I guess he plays in the Turkish league. He couldn't do anything. But for me, I thought this was England's failure to utilize players well. Um, I thought them not starting Rashford was a mistake. I think Rashford is a better and more physical player than either Saka or especially Sterling, and I think that works well against an American team. You have to be more physical, and Foden and Trent being two of the best attacking players on England, not even seeing the field here. I think that was a huge mistake, especially in a 0-0 game. If you're up one or to not utilize them in a game like this, I thought was a real miscalculation. So we'll see what they do in the next game. England maybe feels like they have this in the bag against Wales, but that Iran-America game is going to be an incredible game. So we'll move on to Group C here. Poland beating Saudi Arabia 2-0, and Argentina beating Mexico, which just happened here 2-0 as well. So we'll start with you, OY. What do you think of this group so far?
So I actually missed the first match, so I need to, I guess, rewatch it. But kind of judging from what you guys were talking about, it seemed like Saudi actually played fairly well. At least like they showed up and they competed, which I think for them is a lot more than any of us would have probably thought going in. So I can't really speak too much about that match. For the one that just ended, I mean, obviously, like I'm happy But I gotta say that first half was not pretty. Like that, I don't. It's like Argentina didn't realize you have to shoot to score. I don't. They looked very disjointed. The offense was very sloppy. I think some of that might be because again, I think Mexico was trying to muddy up the game a little bit, be very physical, push them around, which is fine. But yeah, you got to play through that. And I think the second half, I think the light it kind of turned on. I think the Messi goal was a catalyst, and the offense really kind of came to life in the second half. So it'll be interesting to see if they can carry that over. It could be like the spark plug that they needed in the tournament because yeah, the offense looked pretty dead to be honest with you. So we'll see. I hopefully it can carry over. The Mexican side, I think, was very physical. I thought they were very aggressive in the first half. I thought it was funny to me because the stats all said that Argentina was winning on possession, but it just seemed like Mexico was constantly on that side of the field the whole first or most of the first half. So I just thought that was funny how it played out. So yeah, they have like a must-win game now against Poland. So that's going to be those two teams were the two teams that I thought were going to compete for that second spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with like the goal differential now.
Yeah, absolutely. Zaki, what do you think of this group, Group C?
No, I mean, definitely Argentina with all the critiques, they still got a win, and I feel like they kind of. I'm gonna say it's not that they're entitled to this win, but they do have the talent for it. It's just even though they're not synchronizing, they don't really have much of. I feel like Mexico was. I feel like almost went equal, like head to head, and they were on times it looked like it was Mexico. Mexico was the stronger side, but somehow Messi with just one touch, his only touch, I think this that half, I would believe, in that half he just basically shows his class. I mean that's what can Mexico do about that, and then also the second goal was another, I think, talent showing. These are not goals that basically you're hardly earning. You're basically just kind of given a soft chance, and the players just maximizing it. So it's just that is the thing. I mean, it's very unlucky for Mexico that they have to be, like they played so well, but somehow Argentina with some good talent, they're able to just find the win. And then Poland, I feel like Poland did get a bit lucky, I have to say. Like Saudi Arabia definitely had much more chances, and the Poland, they got. I think their second goal was definitely some, meaning it was a defensive error, and then the first goal. I mean, yes, it's a goal, but at the same time, it was meaning it was not a convincing goal in my opinion. And Saudi Arabia definitely they have shown their threat. So it will be very interesting to see Saudi Arabia versus Mexico. Mexico on hand, they do have a stronger team on the paper, but Saudi Arabia with their win against Argentina, and they're just basically showing more teeth. So we'll see how that game pans out. But I'm gonna have to say with Argentina getting this momentum, they'll definitely looking to win against Poland.
Yeah, we talked about this in the chat. Saudi had 16 shots on goal and 16 shots total and zero goals. So Dosari he missed a penalty. Very very weakly taken, as I mentioned before. When you're playing against a team like that, you have to pick one of the sides and just go for it, just blast it in there. It was kind of a weak. It was kind of in like halfway into the where the goalie could get it. I thought that was a really big missed opportunity. Saudi kept skying the ball. You have to keep your head down when you're kicking the ball. They kept just kicking it really high. I think they were nervous through most of this game. I thought Matty Cash, who is suddenly Polish, I thought he was English, but he's playing for the Polish team now. He was very, very aggressive during this game. A lot of elbows, a lot of jumping, a lot of pushing people out of the way. He really kind of was very physical with the Saudi offense here. Szczesny, though, I have to say, the Polish goalie, for me, he might be the player of the tournament so far. He has, Mexico was peppering him with shots all last game, and he got peppered with shots today too, and he saved the penalty. So for me, he might be the at least the goalie of the tournament so far. Um, Lewandowski, I thought he looked great today. He had a goal, an assist, and then he could have had another goal on another chip that the goalie for Saudi barely saved there. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned, this last Saudi versus Mexico game is going to be very interesting. For the Argentina game, I thought they finally woke up in the second half, and it was essentially two world class goals. One by the senior on the team, and one by the junior on the team. Really, really incredible goals. And Mexico hasn't scored yet, and I haven't seen a lot of promise from their striking ability. So we'll see if that changes versus Saudi. I like El Awais. I think he's a good goalie. So that last game is going to be very interesting. So we'll see what happens here. Moving on to Group D, Australia beating Tunisia 1-0 and France beating Denmark 2-1. What do you guys think of this group?
So, go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll start.
No, I mean, it was a little bit good performance by Denmark that I have to say. I mean, France. I mean, they have when you have players like Mbappe, you don't really need a whole lot of supporting characters to see through some goals and wins. But Denmark definitely came very strong. They had intention to win. They didn't just want to settle for a draw and go into the third game. So props to them. But I mean, and they did get it did pay off. They got a goal. They did tie. But Mbappe was just too strong for them. I think. I mean, I'm not gonna say any other French player that really stood out. Well, Griezmann actually did, but I mean, it is just like Mbappe just led the French team. I have to say. And then the other game, Australia versus Tunisia. I didn't really watch the whole game, but it just looked like Tunisia just did not have the attack. Basically, they're a solid team in the midfield and defense, but they just did not have the attack to kind of finish off the game. They had many chances, I have to say, but they're all, as Omar, you were saying about the last game, that they're just sloppy shots, right at the keeper, and you can't really, win a game like that. You need to basically be more, technical. You have to have more, more solid finishes. So it'll be interesting to see, how Tunisia fares against France. Since France already probably won the group, maybe if they put a B team and Tunisia somehow picks up their attack, you could see something happening. At the same time, Denmark, if Australia and Denmark they do decide to play for the win, and which they will, and if there is a tie, Tunisia does have a chance to come back. I mean, I'm really rooting for the team because I feel like they do have a strong team except the attack. So
Yeah. Oh, why?
Yeah, I think I would agree on the Tunisia-Australia game. I think that's pretty much like how I would view it. I kind of had it as a tie, to be honest. I thought they would tie, but 1-0, 1-1. That's pretty much how I thought this would go. For the France-Denmark game, I agree. I thought Denmark played really well, at least a lot better than I thought they would have. And I think this was just a game where Mbappe kind of just showed his class level, and it's kind of interesting about him. So I just saw a stat. So after today, Messi tied Maradona's goal count for the World Cup. So he has 7 goals in 21 World Cup games, same as Maradona had, or 8. I'm sorry, he has 8. Mbappe has 7 already, and he obviously has now played in 21 games. So, I mean, I don't. It's really funny. Like, that's why I said that in the chat. I don't think Mbappe on the club side is like on Messi Ronaldo level. But I think for some reason, some guys do this when he plays. For the national side, his class kind of he kind of starts playing a lot better, and I think you're seeing that right now. He's playing really well. I think this is his 3rd goal so far. So I think that was like my big takeaway from France. And I would say that better than I think Griezmann's pass on that goal that he scored was actually I thought that was a fantastic pass by Griezmann, crossing over. Because if you look at it, Mbappe didn't really have to do much. He kind of just like knocked into it with his like side. So yeah, kudos to the French side, man. I think like you saw like their talent kind of shining through. But I will echo. I was impressed by Denmark, so I'd be interested to see what they do in this last game.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. For the first game for Tunisia, Jebeli is really the only remotely talented striker or even attacking player on this team, but he can't do it alone. I mean, they haven't scored in this tournament yet, and it's because he's kind of an average striker, and they have no one else really to help him. Um, but the Socceroos got a great glancing header into the goal. I mean, they didn't really do much the rest of the game. I think Tunisia does have a pretty good goalie. Um, you know, and that was really this game. It was just that one glancing header, but otherwise, Tunisia Australia pretty evenly matched. Um, for the second game, people were arguing about whether that pull down of Mbappe should have been a red card. I'm glad it wasn't. I think that was too soft to be awarded a red card, so I'm glad they just gave it a yellow. Um, Otherwise, like you guys mentioned, Mbappe, he showed why he's one of the best players in the world, and you're right. He does play better for France than he does for his club teams. Some other players, Rabiot, he almost had like an amazing scissor kick goal for France as well. I think he's another emerging player in this tournament. I hadn't known about him before, but he's a great player for France. Um, Christensen had that great heading goal for Denmark to win it before the defender got there. But Zach, you mentioned this last game is going to be really interesting if France don't play their players, if they play that B team and give Tunisia a chance here. I mean, France does have depth, but if they don't care about winning this game and Tunisia comes out and wins, and then the result of this Denmark Australia game is, I don't know if it's like a tie or something. Then I think maybe Tunisia can advance if they score like a lot of goals. So that's going to be really interesting. That poses kind of an interesting question about when teams already have advanced in a tournament. If they don't play their best players. But yeah, we shall see. Moving on to Group E here, Spain beating Costa Rica 7-0 and Japan beating Germany 2-1. We'll start with Omar Youssef here. What did you think of this group?
Bro, that Spain game, I know all Saudi fans were happy about that because it kind of took the pressure off of them. But yeah, man, that was a complete domination in that game. I wasn't expecting them to win that. I guess in such a dominant fashion, but I think they kind of showed their class. They are one of the most complete teams in this tournament. For the other game, like, man, that was a shocker. I liked the Japanese side. I liked their team, but I did not expect them to compete with Germany, let alone beat them. So it's for fans. I think this first round has like been very exciting because you've gotten these upsets, you've gotten these surprises in the first round, and that was one of, if not the biggest surprise and upset of this first round. So. I expect Germany to bounce back. I don't think that this is going to like derail them. But, when you have stuff like this is what sets up these situations. Because we've talked about like 3 groups now, and each group I think has a situation where like that last game or those last sets of games, you can have wildly different scenarios. And so that's kind of like what I get from this. It just makes it so much more exciting. So the parity, well, not quite parity, but I guess like these upsets that we're seeing are really, kind of elevating the excitement and the possibility of what can happen.
Absolutely, Zach.
No, yeah, I think these upsets are what we want to see more, but it doesn't always happen. I feel like every World Cup you see maybe a couple of them, and we're praying that that's not the end of this World Cup with Saudi Arabia beating Argentina and then Japan beating Germany. We probably want to see more as neutral fans. But no, I think both results are interesting. Spain, they don't have they're not coming as the contenders in this tournament. They're not a 2010 team. They're not a 2012 team. I think their team is a strong team. It is a talented team. Nevertheless, it's not the team that you'd expect to kind of go and beat Brazil and I think the tournament favorites basically. Nevertheless, I think they are extremely clinical and they have they're showing that no, you know what, we can be one of the favorites. The Spain of like a decade ago, it's still it's still there. So we'll see what happens the next game against Germany, which kind of brings me to the Germany versus Japan game. The result is very surprising, but at the same time, if you look at how the game has been played, Japan kind of earned it. They played extremely smart. It was not a fluke. They held off Germany where they were weak, and they capitalized where they are strong, and they just capitalized the chances. Um, I think their second finish was exceptional. He did everything a striker should do, a center forward should do in that position. He used his body, he used his pace, and he took the chances that I think if the strong center forward with a lot of confidence would take, rather than trying to like basically find a partner to finish off. He was an acute angle, but he finished it. Now, the technical part of that is that Japan. I mean, they have always been known to the technical, as a strong technical side, but they don't always use it as wisely as they've done against the German. And Germany, I mean, I just feel like they're not they're not also coming on as the German team that we used to always know that they're the favorites. They're not coming as a strong Germany team, but nevertheless, we expected a little bit more out of them. Especially middle tier team like Japan. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Spain versus Germany. We see Spain kind of flying high. Germany, it's that chance to see if they can still survive. So it'll be a very interesting game.
That's going to be, one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. My big question after that first game is what happened to Keylor Navas? This guy is supposed to be like a world class goalie, and some of these goals were, he touched them, and they were very savable goals. I don't know if it was his that platinum blonde hair that he has now. I don't know, is that his new look or whatever, but like allowing 7 goals against this team, like you said, this isn't the 2010 Spain team. I was very, very shocked. But, kudos to Spain for the finishing skills. I think they're going to be a very dangerous team because, as we saw in this first round of games, there's not a lot of people that have great finishers in the tournament that we've seen so far. Costa Rica had 0 offensive threat. I didn't see them do a single thing all game on offense. And for the other game, I thought, as a lot of people mentioned, sorry, Zach, I have to mute. There's some feedback. But Germany was too focused on the political aspect of this, like this thing about the rainbow armband and covering their mouth before the game. And they got what they deserved. And, you like after on Twitter, they were talking about how, they don't regret it and all this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, they earned themselves a loss. They weren't focused on this game. And the Japanese they've always been a very clever, very kind of hardworking team, and they do this in a lot of World Cups, Japan and South Korea. And I thought they really earned this. They really earned this win. Even that penalty that Japan conceded, the goalie was just trying to get back up. Like he had fallen, he was just trying to get back up, and the German player just happened to be right in front of him. So he just happened to like leverage him as he was trying to get up. So I don't think that was really an earned penalty for them at all. But what I see in this on this German team is just Gundogan. That's it. Who's a Turk, by the way, not even a real German. And that's all they really have on this team. He scored the penalty and he had 1 shot on goal, and that's really their own. Their only offensive output in this game. The angle on that second Japanese goal was incredible, and also he was fighting through contact as he got that goal. Really, really well deserved, really impressive, and I might be biased, but I'm pulling for Spain to just knock Germany out of this tournament next game, and I think that they can do it. So we shall see. Moving on to Group F here, Morocco tied Croatia 0-0, and Belgium beat Canada 1-0. Not a lot of goals in this group so far. But Zach, go ahead. You can unmute yourself here and tell me what you think about this.
Sorry about the background noise. We might still have a few more.
Okay.
So Belgium, Canada. I mean, I just have to say, Canada, what an impressive performance by them. I think it could have gone their way. That game could have been theirs actually. It looked like so, and they missed a penalty as well. Not to mention, and Alfonso Davies, even though he missed the penalty, what a player! I mean, he really just ran the whole left flank for I guess. I mean, there was like no defender, no midfielder of Belgium that could stop this guy. So I mean, we already know that he's a talent, but in a world stage, he definitely kind of lived up to his name and even have done more, I would say. But no, I mean, I think Belgium they are looking lackluster. I mean, they always come off as one of the teams that does well, but then doesn't really kind of show up at the biggest occasions. But they are starting very slow, so we'll see. If this is one of the teams you have seen in the past that they start very slow and they eventually bring up their momentum. So maybe that's the case. Now, Morocco versus Croatia, a strong performance by Morocco to hold off Croatia. I have to say, I think similar to Tunisia, not just because they're both North African teams, they also don't have a lot of. I feel like their finishing is not there yet, but in terms of the midfield, the defensive work, you could really see that it was quite even between Morocco and Croatia. So we'll see how they can. I feel like the next matchup is Belgium versus Morocco. So we'll see. That should be interesting to see whether Belgium they can use their momentum, or Morocco they can learn something from the previous game and actually produce a win or even a tie with some goals. So we'll see. How that turns out. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to say with all these results, very interesting World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, why? What did you see in this group?
Yeah, so again, Morocco and Croatia is probably a match I can't speak too much on. I missed that one. So the other game, though, I agree. I think Canada. I was really impressed with their showing here. I think Belgium. I still think they're a very talented team, but for whatever reason, they haven't been quite able to kind of put it all together at the right moment. I know, like, they always get through and they get close to getting to the end, but they can't quite put it together. But it's funny. I know KDB won the man of the match, but he was like, I played like crap, so I don't know why I got this. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if they can start to gel moving forward. And this is another group where that second spot just seems kind of open. It's like, okay, like, which one of these teams is going to take that second? Because I think Belgium is definitely going to make it out, but it's like, okay, which between Canada's strong performance, Morocco's good performance, and Croatia, there, who's going to take this second spot? And I'm going to assume that Croatia will probably take it, but I don't know. Like, I can see if Canada has another strong performance, they can maybe take this out. But I know Morocco is also one of the better African teams here, so it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of like put on another strong performance and get themselves out of the group here.
Morocco and Croatia seem perfectly evenly matched to me. There were no goals, but there were many chances, both on offense and defense. I think these are very evenly matched teams, which was really interesting to see. On Croatia, you have Perisic and Modric, and then on Morocco, you have Ziyech and Hakimi, and even that goalie, Bono. I'd never heard of him in my life, but he was a very good goalie for Morocco. So that was really interesting to see how evenly matched they were. For the other side, Canada, like Zach mentioned, Davies, he played very well, but you can't miss a penalty like that. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for this team to go 1-0 on Belgium, and they just couldn't, couldn't take up that opportunity. But I have to say, Courtois, he's a guy. He's very lengthy, of course, right? He's a perfect goalie, but his level of play I've seen over the past year or 2 years, especially what he did with Real Madrid against Liverpool. He's also one of the best goalies in the world, if not the best, honestly. Belgian team overall, they're not as deadly as I thought they were coming into this tournament, and I guess they've established a reputation now that they don't come up big in big moments, even though they have good players on their team. So that's kind of a really interesting development for Belgium. I don't know if they've been looking for a coach that suits them well. I guess is it still Roberto Martinez? I don't know. Maybe he's just not the right guy for this team. Uh, and I think Canada actually had a lot of decent chances. Um, and I think in these upcoming games against Morocco and Croatia, I think they will score. When they're not up against Courtois in goal, I think that they're going to have a good chance to score and at least score. I don't know about win, but I think Canada will score in this group. So moving on to Group G, Brazil beating Serbia 2-0 and Switzerland beating Cameroon 1-0. We'll start with you, Zach Attack. What do you think of this group?
Um, so Brazil, I think they have shown that why they're the favorites. They came up with some spectacular goals, especially the second one by Richarlison. No doubt. So we'll see if this is a slow start for them or this is just their average. It is. They came up. I mean, they're the favorites. They're number one team right now, and their front line. I mean, you can replace three of them, get another three fresh striker, and still maintain that world class. So it's just amazing to see. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if they can win it all or who knocks them out. So I'm just kind of waiting for either one to see what happens, who can stop them. That's really the question in this World Cup.
Yep.
But yeah, so sorry, what was the other? I don't have my laptop. What was the other results?
It was Switzerland beating Cameroon 1-0.
Yeah, that game, I feel like the better team did win. Cameroon did not really have. I feel like the answer to Switzerland. Like they could have gotten one more, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't think any of the team. It is really Brazil, and the other teams are just not looking as strong. I feel like it will be Switzerland that gets the second spot. It's not going to be Serbia or Cameroon. So we'll see if anyone can have a upset. Of course, upset meaning aside from Brazil, which will be hard. It's not impossible, but it will be really hard to see upset in that group with Brazil.
Yeah, I don't see any of these teams in the group beating Brazil. I think it would have to be in the knockout rounds. They're just too strong, too talented, and honestly, even without Neymar, they're probably still the most talented team in the tournament. For the other game, this was my fault. I think I actually picked Cameroon to beat Switzerland because I thought they were more evenly matched. But kudos to Switzerland for. I thought they played fairly well. I think, and they'll probably end up making it out of the group, like Zaki was saying. But I think this is maybe more so than any of the other groups. The disparity between the top team and the rest of the team is very apparent here.
Agree big time. This is absolutely the most lopsided group. Like you mentioned, even without Neymar, their best player, they can still be extremely competitive in the best, which is saying a lot for their depth. Richarlison, what a difference maker. I mean, that amazing goal he had. He was practicing that before the game. They showed that as well, that kick. So that brace he had was really the difference. I will say, though, Zach, I don't know if you agree here, but Paqueta, this guy seems to be one of the most overrated players I've ever seen. I don't know why he's starting for Brazil. He seems to be absolutely useless to me. Lucas Paqueta. He does nothing, and they have so much depth that they can bring in. I don't know why he's still starting for this team. I hope they take him out, bring somebody else in. Serbia really only has Mitrovic, and the service for him is just very, very poor. Just not up to the standard of if Serbia's gonna do anything, it's just gonna be him creating on his own. Cameroon, I thought had some chances that they couldn't finish. They kept whizzing the ball across the face of the goal for some reason, and there was just nobody there to tap it in. And for Switzerland, it was really just Embolo. And Embolo looks kind of like a Lukaku, That's what he looks like to me, kind of like a big-bodied guy. And so that's interesting. I didn't know about this guy before. So we'll see if he continues to have success here. But, none of these teams are even in the same category as Brazil. So it'll be interesting to see who gets second here. But moving on to Group H, as I'm losing light here, but Uruguay tied South Korea 0-0, and Portugal beat Ghana 3-2. Um, yeah, what did you guys think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the results are not surprising. South Korea looked very strong. I think we don't really hear. I mean, we know that they're a strong team. They have gone to semifinals. Of course, that was their home soil. But ever since that, they do have a lot of talent in Europe. But we always kind of look at Uruguay and Portugal as like traditional powerhouses. But this group, to me, was always going to be. It's going to be very interesting for me. I think this is one group where the group stages make it very fun. So, and the results so far do kind of show that. So Ghana is ranked the bottom in this whole tournament, but they gave Portugal like a run for their money. Like they actually came 3-2, and Portugal like they have shown that they can score, they can make the game fun. So can Ghana. On the other hand, the other game, even though it was 0-0, we have seen that both teams they do have talent to score. So we're gonna be. It is a one group where I still can't predict who's gonna leave and who's gonna grow. Who's gonna stay. I feel like that is a group to makes this group stages really fun.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is actually the exact opposite of the previous group we talked about. This one is maybe the most wide open. I actually thought that Ghana was going to win that game. To be honest, I predicted them to win. I think it was 3-2, and then the score was inverted. That game, the main thing I was kind of looking for was how is Ronaldo going to look with everything that's been going on with him at United. What does he have left in the tank? And that's kind of, we talked about it a little bit in the chat, and it seems like he's fit enough to still be a pretty good player. So if he can start kind of coming on, I think he can take this team to the next level and maybe make them the favorites out of this group. But this group is very wide open. I can see, if I had to rank them, I would probably put Portugal, Ghana, and then Korea based on what I'm thinking. But again, this one's open, and I can see this going in so many different ways. So this last set of games coming up is going to be really fun to watch.
Very. For the first game, I'm glad that Son is playing, and he played with that Phantom of the Opera mask, and he had some chances here. I don't think either of these teams had a shot on target in the first half, and each team had a couple shots in the second half. I think Uruguay overall had the better chances. I think they hit the post one time, but overall it seemed pretty evenly matched. It's interesting to see what's happened to Uruguay over the years, how they haven't kind of replenished some of these older guys, Cavani and Suarez. With even Darwin doesn't seem like a good finisher to me. I know Zach, you're a big fan of Valverde. I don't know. I didn't see him do much this game. The For the other game, of course, they said that penalty awarded to Ronaldo was kind of a weak PK, and I do agree. It wasn't the weakest of the tournament. I thought the weakest was the one they awarded to Argentina against Saudi. I think it's kind of clear that they do want Messi and Ronaldo to be highlighted because this might be their last World Cup. They gave them both one, which was good. I was happy to see them both after that was awarded, them both playing better. But I hope these soft PK stuff doesn't continue. I hope they give it based on merit. Other than that, yeah, this Ghana Portugal game was very, very even. Great finishes for all four, on all four goals in the second half. But I'm curious why they didn't start Jose Sa in goal for Portugal and they did Diego Costa instead. I don't think he's that great, and it showed kind of at the end of the game there that he's prone to some of these mental mistakes like he did. But I thought this game, like you mentioned, OY should have been inverted. It very easily could have been 3-2 Ghana. So to see the way that rest of this tournament or this group goes is going to be really interesting to see. So that was our group stage recap here on the part two. It's going to be interesting to see how these third games go, but we're going to go ahead and conclude it here. So this has been the Football v Football podcast. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Now we're on a bunch of different podcast platforms in addition to Apple and Spotify. We've been added to a bunch now, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. There's a few at Google. There's a bunch now, so wherever you get your podcast from, we will likely be there now. And you can support this podcast on Ko-fi. So thank you all. I really appreciate it. Omar Yusuf and Zaki Yusuf for joining today. And have a fantastic day, football fans. Continue enjoying the World Cup.